And just in time is Mike Martin. This is live TV at its finest. How you doing, Mike? He's in the other room. He's still got his scarf on. He's looking all wintry and stuff. We got a great show for you today. Mike Delaney, of course, in the house. G's over there in the tech world making things happen. I guess I'm going to move over here and visit with Mike and Mike.
Hey.
Oh!
Are you over here yet?
I'm on my way.
You might need a bench or a stool.
Hey.
Hey everybody, are we on over here, G?
Yes.
Hey, there
Hey
we
everybody.
go. Breakfast of Champions.
That's right. It's been an interesting week.
Yes, it has. And a great morning.
And it's really good to see you, my friend.
It's good to be seen.
And Brian, you too.
Oh,
Only-
shucks.
I really not really interested in seeing G, but everyone else I'm happy to see, so. That's a joke. That's a little Christmas spirit joke. We're watching Brian do his calisthenics.
Yes. Early morning moving around.
And I think we've got a lot to talk about today. I kind of made it neck day. I hope nobody minds.
No, that's awesome. You know, last week we were talking that my friend Brad from Cheddar Pedals was going to be here. And thank God he's having a boom here at the end of the year. So he is busy working in his shop, filling orders. I'm just so excited for him, for his success that he's having right now. This has been a terrible year for so many businesses and industries. And to see friends of mine thriving who, make stuff that not only are they doing something that they're putting all their passion and soul and money into, but they're actually really good at what they do. And he's really taken off with it, so I'm very excited for him, I'm very happy for him. He's so sorry that he could not be here. We're sad that he couldn't be here because I'm really excited to.
I was looking forward to that too.
Yeah, anybody who doesn't know about Brad's pedals, I'm real excited to bring those to you so you can get to see them because they really are some of the coolest boutique stop box overdrive pedals at not a ridiculous price compared to a lot of the other ones, and they're better.
What a concept.
Yeah, amazing, and
I
they're
love
American
that.
made, so I'm all about that. Go USA.
Yeah.
Unlike what's going on in Copenhagen this week, but that's another story. Don't get me rolling on politics today, because the reason I am late is I've never noticed this before, and plenty of politicians have come to Georgia and Atlanta to do whatever politicians do here, and I do not remember any politicians ever shutting down highways so that they can drive from Dobbins to wherever they're going. And Joe Biden's in town. He's in Dawsonville, Georgia. And if you know anything about Atlanta, Dawsonville's way up here. And they shut down the highway, a rolling shutdown from 75 South, 285 East to 400 North, all the way up to Dawsonville, so that Joe Biden can go do a little thing about jobs in Dawsonville, and then I'm going to get to sit back in that driving home because he's just doing lunch, and then he's going back to Dobbins. And basically, his big announcement for this luncheon is he's talking about things that are tantamount to infrastructure things. That's government solution to jobs, is let's work on more roads and sewers and stuff like that. which are all very important things, but those are state responsibilities and not federal responsibilities, and we don't need the federal help here in our home state. We can handle all that stuff just great. What we need is more people like Mike Delaney and Mike Martin, Ryan Cameron, and Brad Jeter, starting companies, small business owners out there working, employing people, keeping the economy going. That's what we need. So that's my little soapbox.
The big question is, does he play a guitar?
I don't think he does, and if he
Then the
did,
heck with him.
yeah, if he did,
Guys, you know who does? Seriously, Steven Seagal plays the blues and he's pretty good. You saw it this morning.
Yeah,
You
we-
can believe
and
it.
he'd kick your ass if you said otherwise anyway.
That's
So,
right.
like he's certified
Actually-
that could kill you, like not as many ways as Chuck Norris, but I think he could kill you about any way he wants
I mean,
to, like with a nickel.
He's got a CD out, and it's actually pretty good, but he's also surrounded himself with some amazing musicians, so.
Yeah, he played Variety a couple of years ago. We almost went, and then I think the show got canceled at the last minute. Something about laryngitis or something. But
That's another novel concept: celebrities with bands surrounding
The
themselves
Bacon
with good
Brothers.
musicians,
My
but
My
actually
favorite band, the
paying
Bacon
them.
Brothers.
yeah, the
I'm a
Bacon
Bacon
Brothers,
fan.
and ooh,
So-
I know what this is, and I like it.
Anyway, after my little rant, that is why Brad's not going to be here
Slide
this
over.
week. So,
All right, come in and
oh
join
yeah,
us.
this is a close show.
Let's get-
We're all very cozy.
Let's get friendly.
So again, Brad, Census Policies. Brad, if you're working in the shop, you get the show on. Thank you anyway, and we'll have you on soon. And I will see you very soon. He's promised to come up and see me up at Nick's on a Wednesday night as well. So looking forward to all of that. So I don't have a great pedal expose to do today, and I did have an idea to go through my pedal board because I just went through my pedal board the last couple of days. Just took a little hum that I'm not happy with, but it sounded great last night. But I'm late, so I'm not set up for that, so we'll have to do that another time. I'll take you on the grand tour of my gaff tape pedal board.
Perfect.
It's awesome. So
God, we could spend 2 hours just going through pedal boards, couldn't we?
I could spend a whole year talking about the glory of gaff tape. Forget about pedal board.
I
Gaff
have
tape.
shoes made out of duct tape, you know?
If
Just-
you
it's
come to
just-
my house, I have gaff tape on everything. My wife's probably home laughing. I have gaff tape broken windows. I fixed our remote control when it broke with gaff tape. I literally, if it can be fixed, duct tape. Forget about duct tape. Gaff tape is the
All right, I
best.
stand corrected.
Yes.
So, Alabama Chrome duct tape.
Nice.
200-mile-an-hour tape. Good stuff.
So we're going to be all about next.
What a coinky-dink.
Yeah, see,
That's right.
it really does work for just about everything. So we're going to be all about next day, which I'm very excited about, and I see this one immediately. I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up because it looks very nice.
It actually has a little bit of road rash on it, you can see. I've played that neck a little bit. And it's since become one of my templates for
Nice.
building necks.
Now, what did this next start out as
It's
with a template?
How do you mean?
Did it have a template before you?
Yeah, the
designed this
template
one?
is, that template that came from is basically your standard Stratocaster, 90s Stratocaster neck.
Okay,
It's
interesting.
it's a pretty standard profile. It's what a lot of people want. It fits hands nicely. It's not too thin. It's not like the old Wizard neck or something like that, you know. But it's, and it actually went on a guitar that we had at the NAMM show this summer.
Okay.
And the guy that bought the guitar wanted a different neck, which was real easy to do because a lot of my necks just take 4 bolts and they come right off and you can put a different one on. So we fit a different neck on there for him. It was a mahogany neck. And it was a great idea on his part, and it turned the guitar into just a monster guitar. So
Interesting with this 3-3
Mhm.
headstock design.
And flat.
Usually you see them a little angle back, and you left it flat, more like a Strat neck. That's really
right.
interesting.
So we've got that option to do that. This particular neck is nice because if you use a tuner like a Spurzell tuner, they have graduated posts on their tuners, so you don't need to use a string tree like you do on a neck like this where you have six in line. When you get out here, it becomes harder to the tuning doesn't stay quite the same, and the feel of the strings is not quite as the way it should be. And you normally use a string tree on here to help push those strings down to give them the right angle, the right tension. With Spurzell tuners, you can use a neck like this, and like I said, they have graduated posts. So the posts go from two high ones to two medium high ones to two small ones. It does almost the same thing. I really particularly like it. Some people don't. It just depends what you like. And then we've got this neck that I'm hugging here, which is, this is our neck through neck. This is a template that I use, but you might be able to see this has got the angled headstock.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do this, and this particular one is a one piece, which is really cool. Most of the time there's a splice here.
Right.
If you can do it with a one piece, it's a little bit more of a use of the wood, a little more, you get more wasted wood. But I have, the less glue joints the better for me, the fewer.
Yeah.
So, but this one has that, this is about an 11-degree angle. Doesn't require anything special now. You can use any kind of tuner you want to on it. Everything has the proper angle, and it's pretty cool. So.
And the main thing you want is you're wanting the string to sit in the nut properly, so that for any vibrato that you're bending or what have you, it's stable in the nut itself, which is, if you're not a guitar player, it's this little guy right here that just basically raises the string up over the fret, so it's not laying on the frets. So what you want is just enough tension there to pull it down and keep it seated in those little grooves. It does also allow for tuning stability, things like that. So it's not something to completely gloss over. It's actually pretty important thing to debate on when you're looking at the type of guitar that you want to buy for the type of music that you play
Sure.
and your technical needs.
Yeah, and of course this is just a paddle headstock, so you can do anything you want to with this particular one. But again, this is what I use. Right. Yeah, I could row a boat with this, or beat up the neighborhood dog if I need to. So that's always good. This is also a 24 fret, which is kind of nice. And I scored this one, and again, I bought this where somebody might buy one of these to actually build a guitar.
Is it ebony fingerboard as well?
That's an ebony fingerboard. Maple, yes. But I bought this as a template. So this is what goes in my machine that I do my neck profiling with, and I do, I've got my headstock templates that I do as well. So I can use this as a through neck design where you bolt this, you glue the sides onto this, and this becomes part of the body. Or I have one that's cut that I use for my set neck, and it's a little bit thinner here, because this is pretty much the width, the thickness of a body. So by doing this with two sides, you're actually going to see this piece on the back of the guitar. And you've seen that, I'm sure, on some guitars that have an inlay coming through, and we can do all of those things, which is kind of fun to be able to do. But with our set neck, it's cut off about here, and then this is thinned out this direction so that it sits inside the body. So whatever your body wood is will cover it up, and
It sits in a pocket.
it sits in a groove, yeah, a big giant groove, and so we can use this template for both of those guitars, and we can do the 24 fret as opposed to our normal 22 fret.
I have to say this to you guys. If for those of you who maybe haven't played a lot of different guitars or what have you, these unfinished, unpainted necks are my favorite ever. They're buttery, and even if your hand is sweating on a hot gig, you don't get stuck
No sticky
to them.
Yeah.
It really is. It's almost like the thought of a pool cue. A really good pool cue should not have a really shiny, thick finish on it. It should be a good, light finish, just enough to protect the wood to keep it from getting all curvy and stuff. But you can do less of that because it's actually more wood, to where some of them are just oiled, some of them have beeswax, some of them are just sanded. I know a lot of guys, and I've done it, to where we've taken a painted neck and just taken some real fine
Every
steel
Gibson
wool
I
and
ever
scuffed
owned.
it out.
And this neck that you're touching right here, and this neck as well, the only thing that's on this, there's a little bit of a seal coat just to seal it up.
Moisture under it.
Yeah, where this neck actually was on a guitar, and it has an oil finish on it. And I dare you to, there's not a whole lot of difference, And this neck, as you play it, once it has that oil finish on it, it just gets to be more and more your best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just really becomes a really nice feeling neck.
What ends up happening is I've got one guitar that I bought in '97 that started out just like this, and I've played it so much that it's polished the back of the neck,
Yep.
so I have to go back and rescuff it, but it started out this way, and just take a little fine steel wool, just enough to scuff it up and knock it off, and it goes right back. But that's a nice thing about that. You can kinda, it really does become a part of you the way it works with your body chemistry. It's pretty cool.
You can see this one.
Mhm.
This is a neck I got from Ken Warmoth, and this is a vintage '59 Telecaster neck, and this is what we use for a template as well. So this is what goes in my machine, and I create my necks from. I use what's called a duplicarver, and so I can put this in.
Not to be confused with doppelganger.
Yeah, that's another
another thing
story
altogether.
altogether. So I can
That's
use
like
Ken. I can
this
use one
box
of Ken's
beard, yeah.
necks, and build my neck from that and be very accurate. It's also got the side adjuster, which I'll talk about because I put these in my necks now too, and I'll talk about that in a minute because I've got one that's
yeah.
exploded that we'll talk about.
Nice. I'm just
Yeah.
walking around. You guys keep talking. I'll be right back. This is live television, and I just got here, so I'm still not in camera, but I'm still here.
Grab a donut while you're.
That's
you're
right,
up
we've
there.
got
No, you know
donuts.
what? I'm just gonna. I stopped at the gas station because I needed some gasoline, and the bastards. Pardon my French.
Ricola.
Yeah, pardon my French. I stopped, and normally what I will get is like those oat and honey granola bars because they're pretty good for you, and they don't have a lot of corn syrup or anything like that in them. Or I'll get Fig Newtons, which is a really not a bad cookie if you just need something for some carbs and some energy. I'm not a big breakfast person, but it really is pretty important to have a good breakfast. So I grab a couple of those tiny little Fig Newtons, got my coffee, got my gasoline, and the gas station, they've got these little, perfectly like cup-sized things full of donut holes.
Mhm.
$1.29. They got me. They got me. I cussed the guy out too at the counter too. He got an earful of it. He was not pleased.
Shame on you for having these available
Yeah.
to us.
And he just kept shaking his head as I walked out, already opening the donut. So yeah, I don't need any more donuts. I'm good. I'm jacked
Excellent.
up on donut.
Well, we've got them. So join us. Come have a donut.
Come with donuts. We got them. They're made of wood.
And wire.
And wire.
wood.
We have sawdust-filled donuts.
That's
Yes,
right.
you can. Everything we have is filled with sawdust.
Natural. Yeah, it's better than any aftershave I've ever used. It is sawdust. You know, if I'm working with redwood or cedar or something, my wife loves me. 'Cause I go in the house smelling like the forest, as opposed to other times that I don't smell like the forest. But anyway, that's another story too, that I'm sure she wouldn't appreciate me telling about. So here's another neck. I wanted to kind of show you this, and hopefully we'll be able to get on the close-up camera here in a minute. This is actually one of our Avolax necks, and a little different headstock, same process, same idea. This particular one is a mahogany neck. It has a rosewood fretboard, just some very simple clay dots for the dot markers. And what we have here, this was originally a neck that we put on Mark Slaughter's guitar. We built this neck for Mark's guitar, and we got it all done and ready to go, and it had a tiny little flaw, and we couldn't send it out. So what I did was I popped the fretboard off. You can see this is the fretboard, this is the piece of rosewood, and underneath we've got the inner workings of our neck. And this is a truss rod. This is a newer style truss rod, and what this does is, this is a double expanding truss rod, and I'll talk a little bit about both types. There's basically two types of truss rods for electric guitars. The old school single truss rod, which is in a concaved slot, and it's attached to both ends. If you see, this is an old school truss rod. It's attached down here, and it's attached up at the top. And what you do with the old school one is when you adjust it, as you tighten it, it forces the truss rod to bend, and it forces the neck to straighten out one way or the other. Depending on which way you go, it either adds tension or takes it away, and it straightens that neck out so that this is flat, or relatively speaking. And I think we can go into the ideas about having bow in or having a straight neck. We'll talk about that as well. The double expanding truss rod, a little bit different. It's attached at one point, and it expands as two instead of as one. This is kind of a unique one. Again, this is
Not
another
like
thing that
donut
I.
expansion, but
This is another thing that I learned from Ken Warmoth, who I almost went to work for. This is made by a company called Gotoh, G-O-T-O-H.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what it is in the old days when a Fender used to build their necks, all of the adjustments were done right at this point right here. Great idea, kept everything nice and clean. Bad thing about this, you had to take the neck off to do your adjustment.
Mike totally disapproves.
Yeah.
But it was kind of the original idea. One of the very
Tell them
first
why,
things.
The reason that that's a bad idea, if you have to take the neck off to adjust the tension of the truss rod, you are adjusting the tension of the truss rod to straighten out the wood against the tension of the strings. And if you've taken the neck off the guitar, you have taken the tension of the strings off of the neck. So you're just guessing.
Yeah.
Turn it a quarter or turn, you
Put it
put it
back
back
on.
together, you put the strings on, you tune it back up, and then you look at it. Okay, that was wrong. And then you take the whole thing apart again, and
It's
then
what-
you take it another quarter turn.
It's what we use, the term we use in Lou theory is a freaking nightmare. You know? And
Is that a
so-
technical term?
It's a technical term. So that was the original thought. Along comes Gibson, who started doing it similar to this, where you've got the truss rod that adjusts at the other end, underneath a little cover. Now you've just got to take one or three screws out, depending on whose cover you're using, and you can adjust it there. The neck never comes off the guitar. Of course, with a Gibson, it can't come off because it's glued into the guitar.
Right.
So it's a great idea. Now comes Ken Warmoth along. I don't know who came along
Keep
with the
talking,
idea
OCD
first.
moment. OCD.
But Ken was the first guy I ever saw do this, where what they've done is, you've got your truss rod, it still adjusts from the heel, and you think, well, why would you do that? You've got a better idea. The better idea is this.
Must obsessively click lock button.
Until you
Until
hear,
I don't remember if I locked the car, so I have to.
You know what's really weird, when you
I
click
hear
the
it
lock
beeping.
button, one of the guitars went out of tune. I heard that. So I don't know what happened.
Is that what keeps happening to me?
So,
That's why I'm never in tune, because I'm always pressing this damn button.
so where was I?
They
Anyway,
shouldn't. I'm sorry.
guitar,
Oh,
car,
yeah,
car
Can,
lock.
can you install one of these on my guitar?
I could do that.
That
could
way
do
I
that.
wouldn't, maybe I could keep my
We
tuning
can just
in.
put it in that, yeah, we could do that.
But-
just sink it into the cavity, you're good to go.
So anyway, what I was saying was, before I was so rudely interrupted
Sorry.
by the host,
By my obsessive compulsive disorder.
why would anyone still put that here if you could do it up here? And so what Ken came up with, and again, I don't know who did it before Ken, but I give him the credit because he's the guy that I found doing it first, was he's come up with a design, or he found this design that somebody had come up with, there's a little cam here, and it adjusts from the side, and it's just a little Allen screw. Are we getting that, G, okay?
I think he's smoking
Yes,
cigarettes.
we're getting that okay.
Actually, some people are having a hard time connecting, so
Ah.
he's dealing with some issues.
connectivity.
Issues. That's
Well,
what
I'll
we
keep
call them.
speaking anyway. So anyway, you can adjust it from here, minor adjustments. It's not gonna adjust nearly as much as hogging down on this screw down here. But for like seasonal adjustments, you get to a gig, you're playing outdoors. Well, you played last night indoors, and it was smoky and steamy. You're outdoors now, it's a little chilly, and your neck's got a little bow in it. You can go right here, you can do what we call a seasonal adjustments, get it a little closer to where you need to be, or right where you need to be, depending on how much that neck moves. It's a great idea. We started using it on some of our necks. I'm really going away from it now, more and more, because
Yeah.
I can do a flat-headed stock now, a headstock like this, which normally would do from down here. You see there's a hole there, but that's actually for the jig at the house.
Not the dance.
Yeah, but
Because we only do river dance here.
that's right, no jigs. But even with a flat headstock, there's a place for your adjustment at the top. So it makes a lot more sense. It's so much easier. You're not gonna overdo it. Once you get to know your guitar, you're gonna know how much to move that to get the desired effect. And so it's a whole lot easier in the long run just to do it that way. So I give Gibson credit for that, because that's something they've done that has just made a whole lot more sense
Yeah.
than the alternative.
The other cool thing I've seen is I've owned a couple of Music Man John Petrucci model guitars, and they do the wheel. Basically, what they do is there's a little wheel right down here that
Mhm.
goes around, and it just has holes in it. You don't need, there's an appropriate size Allen wrench, but you don't need the appropriate size Allen wrench. You just need something to go into the post and then turn the wheel. It doesn't have to actually fit, and you're turning the key, you're actually turning the wheel,
Oh, wow.
which I found very handy when just on the fly. When I first got my Petrucci's, the very next tour I did was up in Canada, so I had everything adjusted. They're made out in California, and it's where it's much drier. They come out here. They were brand new guitars. They had some settling to do, plus all the humidity in Georgia. I get that straight, and then I fly up to Canada. We get to the first gig. Awful. And 2 seconds. Adjusted them. Awesome. It was just great. I didn't have to worry about not having all of my appropriate Allen keys or carrying a bunch of stuff around because I didn't have a tech on that tour. You know,
Well, and,
like
and
every
the,
tour.
the only downside that I've heard about it at all is aesthetics. I mean, it just depends on, how close you're gonna get to the guy playing that guitar to see whether there's a wheel there or not. you know?
Yeah.
It's just, again, everybody has their little things that they like and they don't like, and you're always gonna find somebody who can find something wrong with something,
Yeah.
And I guess that's a good thing to have. You need one friend like that, just so you can that going in that somebody's gonna complain about that.
I'm that guy.
And for anybody who's ever had to replace a truss rod because the bullet at the top of the neck has been stripped out over years of
Mhm.
adjustments and adjustments and adjustments, having something a little bit simpler, or like that wheel that even if a hole were stripped out, you just move to another hole or what have you. You can't really ever need to replace the thing unless the truss rod breaks for some reason. It's actually kind of nice.
So this gives you kind of an idea of some of the variations, some of the things that we can do. We still get guys that want something totally vintage. We have a vintage line that we do, and we'll do a neck with a skunk stripe. That's what this is called. We'll do a one-piece neck, where the fretboard is part of the neck. It's not two pieces like this. It's all one piece.
For the skunk stripe, for anybody else ever wondered why is there a skunk stripe?
Well,
on
when
that?
you do a one-piece neck, you have to have a way to get your truss rod into the neck,
Because you're not pulling the fingerboard.
because you're not pulling the fretboard off to get to it. So what you've got here is a routed area. You set your truss rod. You want to cover that routed area up. Might as well do it with something real pretty. So you see a lot of walnut. I've done rosewood.
Mhm.
I've done purple heart. Different woods depending on what I'm building and what people want. I've made it so the walnut would come down where it meets the body on the back. There'd be a walnut stripe on the back of the body, or two walnut stripes that go, just something to kind of make it unique and individual, and still kind of cool looking, So that's what this is all about. So that's just kind of some of the different things we can do. And I think we even got a couple of different type of fret wire on these. I can't remember for sure right now. I'd have to look. But I really hope we can do one from the shop sometime. I know that we had talked about doing that. We weren't able to do that, but it's really it's difficult to give you the full effect without actually seeing the machine that might cut those slots, or that and it's a pretty cool thing. We have a little bit of a video on DelaneyGuitars.com showing us when we were still in Montana, that doing our thing for Montana PBS, and it does show some of the tools and that kind of stuff. I think it actually shows the neck machine doing some hogging out a neck out of a block of wood. So it's kind of cool, and you can see that on the website. But I would really love to be able to do that with the new equipment. We're hopefully getting a new machine before too awfully long, and because the old one, the one that my dad and I built, is just starting to.
It's seen its day.
It's creaking and making noises, and we need to go metal. So.
That's right. So, speaking of metal, before we get into, unless you want to look at neck mock-up with the DS9.
You talk metal. I'll just throw a neck up here to show somebody what it looks like.
Look at that. That's what that looks like.
That's a beauty.
It looks like a guitar.
I don't even know if it's straight, but it sure is pretty.
These are metal. I was not here last time you had these guys here.
Oh, really?
Hand me one of those.
There you go, Mike.
That one's got a big old fat neck on it.
These are very, very cool. This is the Able Axe. This is the aluminum billet guitar. This one has a mahogany neck on it.
Mm-hmm.
Plastic back.
Yeah, not supposed to be, but it is.
Look, you're missing a couple screws.
I ran out of backs. You're not supposed to point that out.
Sorry.
That's right.
That's what I did.
Normally they match the body. Normally.
Now this is cool. This is, I imagine, for
you can turn on any combination of all.
Yeah, this
I'll
was
take that.
this was the second. This was the second. Well, I don't want to say second. This was the second commercial body design that Abelax came out with. Different pickup configuration than the original. The original had 2 humbuckers. It actually had 2 humbuckers, a volume control, and that's it. And a way to switch between pickups. No tone, no nothing. It was just balls out, if I can say that. And it was a pretty cool guitar. This version originally came with 2 single coils and a humbucker. It just came with a volume, and it came with 3 on-off switches, so you could get any combination of pickups and volume. Since then we've added tone controls, we've added push-pull pots to certain ones. We've done a lot of that. One doesn't.
Does not.
Yeah.
No, that one
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's
do
got
that.
a push-pull knob. And this is one that's kind of in my stable. The bridge that's on this one we no longer use. I would just kind of say it's horrible. I hate it.
What is the bridge on this?
It's just a generic. Even if I knew the brand name, I probably wouldn't say because it's really not good. And I hate to talk bad about things, but it's junk. And we've switched that out to a much more user-friendly bridge that has a lot more adjustments to it, side-to-side adjustments, string spacing adjustments. That's loose too. We found that out this morning. The barrel jack, but it's a very cool guitar. I like the wooden necks. We also offer these with Moses graphite necks.
Yeah, I would imagine just feeling it's not quite room temperature yet, how cold the aluminum is. If you were just running into a gig and picked it up, that cold on your hand would not be good, especially if you're trying to keep blood to your fingers.
The good news
Wood is much
about
nicer.
the good news about cold aluminum, when it's on a body like this, it doesn't have any effect. Like I'll mention Travis Bean because Travis Bean is notorious. It was a fantastic concept for guitar, and what they did was they had aluminum necks, and it was, boy, was it a beautiful thing to play and to have against your hand. But if you were doing a gig where you're outdoors and temperature changes, it was like spaghetti. It was like, holy cow, and you would never stay in tune. And they came up with some things to fix that, and they gave it a real gallant effort. And Travis Bean was a real innovator, and I have a lot of respect for the guy. But the aluminum bodies are much more stable, and to throw a wooden neck on there, and like I said, this particular neck is a very thick neck, as opposed to some of the thinner, the Wizard necks and some of those. But it adds enough wood to really give it a sweet tone. I really love that thing.
It's interesting. I don't know if what I was doing is just putting my ear up to the horn. A lot of times when I'm going to purchase a guitar, I'll listen to the guitar before plugging it in, just acoustically what the properties are, how resonant does the guitar feel in your hands and all of that stuff. And I have found that most guitars, if they're pretty resonant, if you feel them up in your body, you can just put your ear up against this horn of the guitar and you can get a good sense of what's kind of going on inside of the wood. The other place you would want to listen would be down here someplace, and you can't really listen there and play the guitar at the same time. You can get somebody else to do it, but it looks funny at the music store. Don't think I haven't done it. If you're going to spend some money, I mean, you want to listen to them. And fortunately, when I've worked at music stores, if there was a model that I liked, you can go and pick, from 10 of the same color, and you can find the one that's got the neck or the one that the body and the neck are very in tune together. I don't know if you can hear that. These are almost unison.
They're close.
Mm-hmm.
They're close.
Almost unison. That's pretty close. Close enough to where it would either be really awesome or just far enough apart to where, I don't know if it would be worth, if it were a distracting thing, like it just wasn't singing right, to take just a sliver of hair off. Because it seems this is a little bit deeper,
lower.
just
Yep.
a hair deeper
Yep.
to where, just like with a marimba, basically the way a marimba works, they're all mahogany bars. The size and shape and the weight of the bar has everything to do with the pitch that it is. So with graduated bars, the longer the bar is, the deeper the pitch. So as you go up, it's just less wood to get to the higher pitch blocks. That size-pitch relationship we were talking about, to where you get up to the real high ones. So here, with this having a slightly lower, if it were distracting enough to you, you could probably have Mike go in and tune this by finding some place that wouldn't affect where it feels, like I don't know if it would be better to take it from the headstock or maybe just here at the heel. There's a
Even,
little
yeah,
bit of
a little
room there
shape
where you
in
can
there.
shave that in a
Yep.
little bit. It might make enough difference to just make it sing together. But then again, it's so close, who knows? You know, that may be one of those things where it's already awesome. It could be that much more awesome. I haven't played with that, so it's just an interesting idea.
And of course, if it's just a hair off, sometimes it can just make it a little bigger.
Yeah, it depends on how close it is to a minor second, because that's a very dissonant
I'm even lost.
thing. That's a C and a C sharp
Yeah.
right next to
Yeah.
each other. That's basically
Two flutes
Yep.
playing
that
music.
sound, which
Yeah.
I love that sound, but if you're looking for warmth and resonance, it's better to have consonants, which would be, like here we're talking unison, that's the same note. Consonants would be a fourth, or some kind of fifth. They're very solid, very stable pitches, to where the overtones, they don't beat until they get way, way up into the upper harmonics, which with this you can't even hear that unless it was plugged in. But these would be considered a dissonance,
Dissonant, yeah.
a minor second, even a major second, which would be like a D and an E together. It's more consonant, but still, it's a dense dissonance. This is a very close beating dissonance. It's a little more dense, but still beating. A major third is consonant. Minor third is still pretty consonant,
I like that one.
but not as stable as a fourth. Just very even. If you ever get to sit, the best way to experiment with that stuff is get at a good piano that is well tuned, and hold down the damper pedal, and play through intervals and just listen to the overtones. Because when you hold down the damper pedal, it pulls up all the felts on all of the strings inside the piano, to where you
That's
can
a
hear
minor.
all of the overtones ringing inside of the piano. I mean, it's not very exciting, but you just sit there and you just listen to the overtone series. You get to hear a lot more about what's going on. It happens on every instrument. And with electric guitars, you can sort of artificially do that by using distortion and things like that. It almost always adds a fourth or a fifth to whatever note you're playing. But that explains why you can't play complex chord voicings with a lot of distortion, because all of your upper harmonics are just clashing way too much. That sounds better to play the power chords, fourths, fifths, things like that. So anyway, there's my nerd
Little theory
nerd
lesson
for the day.
I like that.
But that's what I was doing. I was just listening here to see how resonant is the aluminum itself, because aluminum is not like lead or steel. I mean, and I imagine steel has a tone to it as well. But aluminum is an interesting material for this kind of thing, and you can see if you pick it up, it's got some weight to it. So all of these holes really do contribute to cutting down.
And
the
that
weight of the
originally
guitar.
was the idea of the original guitar. The holes are there because it weighed too much. That's how this all started with Jeff Abel doing this, was just, we've got to lighten this thing up. And he started drilling holes.
Because that's a lot of aluminum that was taken out of that. This
Oh,
would
yeah.
be really heavy without all
Yeah.
that metal in there.
And the new model, the one that was supposed to come out in 2009 and that will hopefully come out in 2010, is going to be kind of an a combination of the two. It's going to look more like this is the original again back here with it was called Swiss cheese guitar, but it's going to have a larger control compartment in the back. This is a larger control cavity than the other one has, and so it's going to be lightweight.
Extreme close-up zoom cam.
But look a little more like the original, without going so far back that the guys that actually own the original ones, they've actually become valuable, and we don't want to start duplicating the exact original because it's not fair to the guys that have those, and it wouldn't be any fun anyway. Anybody
Yeah.
could do that.
Yeah.
So it's like building a
Let me hand
Strat
that back around
that
too.
if you're not a Fender builder. So it's yeah, it's just and that one actually weighs a little bit more. You can feel it.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's pretty wild. That's our purple color.
That one actually does have a metal backplate.
And
too.
actually, that was an afterthought too, that Jeff did, because we went from plastic backs to anodized aluminum backs. That's another thing I want to talk about with these guitars is, and this particular one, we didn't have a back for, so Jeff said, well, I'll just match it and throw some squiggles on it, and we could do better, I think. But it's, again, this is kind of one of my guitars in my stable, and
That's
that's pretty close.
That's right on.
Maple neck, rosewood fretboard on this one. Got some fancier dots. Got some
Look at that.
matching Spurzell
Look
tuners.
at that.
Spurzell is a real interesting company. They this is all anodized aluminum. These are aluminum as well, and they do. Unlike most companies that build tuners, they'll do colors, and we'll call them up and say, "What do you got on the shelf that hasn't sold?" Well, we got these dark green ones, and we got these pink ones, and we'll say, "Send them," and we'll get them, and we'll match the bodies to them and do something wild with that. And that's Jeff Abel's end of the deal. He does the aluminum work, and I do everything else. But it looks like it's painted. It looks like purple paint with silver squiggles in it, and it's actually anodized, and so that it's in the metal. It's not going to come off. It would take a lot to get the color out of that aluminum. And what Jeff does that very few other people do is it's a multicolor anodization process, which I can't really go into with any knowledge. But it's each color is its own process. So there's a lot involved, and so it's not something you'll see a lot of. You might see other aluminum guitars out there that are purple or orange or green or clear, which looks like chrome, but you don't see very many that have the multicolors because it's a long agonizing process. But boy, does it look cool! And Jeff has done some really amazing color combinations and stuff, and it's just really cool to have. And again, this is something that before a few years ago, I would never have even considered. And after meeting Jeff and getting to do this, it's just another avenue to explore in the evolution of the guitar. So it's hard to talk when you're playing because you're so good, and I just want to hear every note.
It's interesting. It's probably not coming across, but the difference between knowing what a wood guitar sounds like and it adds just this little zing to the note, the aluminum. It's really a cool sonority just acoustically sitting in your lap. It's pretty cool. It puts a little life on the note because it gives a little.
You can hear it.
It rings, and that guitar will sustain for about a week and a half.
You can go have a bite.
It'll go for quite a while.
You could hear it if it were plugged in.
Maybe we're plugged in, yeah. That's my regular-
I'm hearing it.
Don't
I'm
touch
enjoying
it.
it.
You've seen enough of that one.
No, don't touch it. Don't touch it. And of course, my amp that goes to 11 is not here. You ever notice that at every gig you have a Spinal Tap moment and you have a Blues Brothers moment?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much biblical now.
Yeah. I don't know how that happens, but every time.
I hope not, because I'm gigging tonight.
Oh.
I call them the gig gods. You pretty much, I don't know that you have to have an altar or some kind of shrine to the gig gods, but you do have to have some kind of burnt offering to the gig gods because they pretty much will control how well your gig goes.
And
You kind of have to roll with the gig gods. Sometimes they're very generous to you,
That's true.
and sometimes they're, it's kind of like, you remember Clash of the Titans? And they're just like messing around with all Hercules and all those runs,
Mhm.
whatever. It's kind of like that. And those are the Blues Brothers and Spinal Tap moments as they come up.
Yeah, I'm really kind of nervous about. Like I said, I've got a gig tonight, and I think I've upset the guys. So tonight's going to be kind of an interesting night, but we're going to have fun anyway. So I think I'm going to take an Able Axe tonight,
Right on.
just because it'll just really mess with the rest of the band.
There you
They
go.
won't be expecting it. It'll be great.
Yeah, and so you talk about that burnt offering. You can't set an Able Axe on fire.
Only if it's got a wooden neck, and then it's not.
I'd have to
exciting.
find some other way of destroying
It'd have to be a really hot fire. The nice thing about the Able Axe is you can throw it off a building and the body will survive.
Yeah, Bronson lighter fluid and a Zippo probably aren't going to do it with
No,
this one.
I think you're gonna
No.
have to go torches.
Yeah, acetylene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get one of those
That'll
Swiss Army torches that's about that big, with a little propane bottle built into it.
I think you can make it interesting if nothing else.
Well, you change the definitely change the color scheme.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna have to try it now.
Yeah, see?
I see what I've started.
Actually, you know what's cool is I used to play for this really earthy sort of, almost hippie band, but very sort of Peter Gabriel world
music band called Jana, and I replaced the keyboard player doing guitar synth. So I had my guitar synthesizer. That's another whole ridiculous show. I'm a huge fan of King Crimson, and they do a lot of guitar synth stuff in there. So it's Adrian Belew's my hero, and he does amazing stuff with it that I can't do, but he's the inspiration for me even getting one of those stupid things. It doesn't do what it does for him. I don't know. Maybe I got a different booklet that came with it. I figured it out. But anyway, we had all of these. It was a 6-piece band, and we had all of these sound issues where we had all of these very, very earthy and archaic percussion instruments, reed instruments. The drum set was not a traditional drum set. We had a not a djembe, we had a djembe instead of a snare drum. Our other percussionists played a djembe through most of the set as well. Andy had a large, like an oversized marching kick drum, and congas and tablas. We had everything. It was crazy. We all had to play some level of percussion, whether it was a shaker, egg, something in a down point. It was really kind of an interesting, organic and sensual kind of gig. Really, it was kind of cool. It's not like anything else I've ever done. But we had issues with so many microphones on stage. We only had so many inputs that could go to the front of the house to get a complete mix. So replacing the keyboard player, he just had, stereo coming out of his keyboard rig. And he could sum that down to a little mixer, or if it was a tight room where they just didn't have enough inputs at the board, he could just go mono, which is not that big of a deal. But since I was playing guitar and guitar synth, they wanted to be able to split everything. So we didn't have room on stage for me to carry traditional amps, so I was using some kind of amp modeler, and that was being MIDI controlled through a bank. Plus I had the guitar synthesizer going on, so I was constantly switching between guitar synth, blending the two together. So I had bank pedals, control pedals for everything, some kind of global MIDI thing that I had going on. And I had whatever that little unit was, it was just a pod, and the control board for that, because I needed to be able to work wah pedal and everything separately from programming it out to this other MIDI contraption, plus the guitar synthesizer, which had other bank pedals on it, plus sustain pedals and another volume pedal, and then I've got all the switches on there to either go through the banks or adjust the volume, the blend between the guitar and everything. And so the whole thing, for a keyboard player to be able to switch banks and just hit a button, or program, these are going to be strings, this will be piano, and then these will be flutes or something like that. You can't do that with a guitar synth. And I had to replicate all these things that he was doing. So anyway, I had this ridiculous amount of stuff, and that was being summed out to a mixer with whatever I needed, compressors and everything else, to kind of normalize everything that I was doing, and then send that out to the front of house. It was ridiculous. I called it The Office. That's where I got the name for The Office, if you ever hear me talk about that. That's my little domain on stage, where I either have a bunch of pedals or no pedals, or sometimes it's just cabinetry and wood and tubes and just air moving at high velocities, kind of like the end of Indiana Jones, that kind of thing. But I built, they didn't make pedal boards for this kind of thing, and I could not afford some kind of Bob Bradshaw, custom design thing, because that would have been a bunch of money. So I built one, and if you just take, whatever, press wood, it's a really heavy box. But to make it a little interesting, because we had this very organic sort of ethereal band where we wore colorful clothes and stuff. So I had this large chunk of wood that was basically my station. Just take a little torch to it, and it brings out all the grain of the wood. You've done that with some of your guitars. It darkens some of the grain, but it leaves other bits behind. So it's kind of a cool thing. So I have this box. I can't sell it. It's just a silly box that I made. So it's just in my office.
I want it.
But that's kind of cool that you could do something like that with. You could probably do that with the guitar.
And the other option is to cover it with gaff tape.
I have those too. I think every one of my guitars has a piece of gaff tape someplace on it.
I'm going to try that.
Mostly over
Gaff tape
gaff.
top. Yeah, gaff tape top or pick guard.
Have you ever thought of a
tape
gaff
pick guard.
body or just a gaff neck? I'm sure that would be stable.
Yeah. Wouldn't go
That's an
good.
idea.
No need for a truss rod.
You could play in this position all night long.
After building these, I'll try anything. I'll try it all.
I have gaff on my cabinets. Do I have gaff on my amps?
It sounds
I
like
got
a
most of
disease.
them.
Sounds like
I may have a
fungus.
problem. I have a gaff infection.
Gaffers Anonymous.
That's right.
All right, so while we're snickering and all that stuff, let's.
I apologize because I was sneaking over there trying to answer a couple of questions while you were talking. So
Pyrography.
Pyrography?
That's a good word. Word of the day, kids. Pyrography. That's better than the words I come up with.
Does that have
at
something to
Gates.
do with fire?
It may.
Or is
I
that...
should see a doctor. Lefty says we should see a doctor. about
Lefty
that.
knows.
He should. He would know.
He would know that.
Let's see.
I
Which neck is going on
want to
that
do this
going
for
guitar?
E.B. Tull. She was asking what neck was going on this guitar. None of these that are here. It's in work right now. As a matter of fact, it's in glue up right now. So I couldn't bring it, but it's going to look like this one. It's going to be a rosewood fretboard.
The Viagra
A little bit
model.
of a flame maple.
I don't know what's going on.
So that's for you, E.B. It's going to look like this one. Sort of like this.
Yes.
I think the rosewood's a little redder on the one that we're doing for the guitar, but you get a feel for it. It's pretty, and it's not going to have this headstock. It's going to have this headstock right here. So, just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. I dare you to do that without dropping stuff. Yeah, I like the look of that
Oh,
guitar.
I will drop stuff.
DS9 available soon.
Look at that. Highest bidder. Come on.
Yeah.
Well,
We need money.
we're going to
Okay.
do a
Yes.
limited edition of 50 of these.
We need money.
So
So
the people that are friends of Dirty South that like the guitar, there will be 50 made total, no more, no
That's
less. Well, maybe less, just depends on if anyone buys it.
Yeah, I mean, if 10 sell and that's it, that.
Then we'll go on to the DS10. That'll be the next project. But yeah, there will be some available, so tell your loved ones for next Christmas or something, or your birthday, or my birthday. That would be a nice birthday present for me.
I'm still thinking that maybe we could just take one of these, not put any frets on it, put a hanger here and a hanger here, and I could have a nice little lap steel that would be almost impossible to.
Yeah.
Oh, we could get with Fable and maybe have a little aluminum body
Do
rest.
something very cool. You'd have to have a little bit just so all your pickups will fit right. Because I think some of the pickups may be a hair wider than this. Well, you take
We'll
one
just-
out
But
and
more
We'll just mix-
importantly,
we'll
does
just-
Mike Martin need a
Go
fretless
do this
guitar?
one, do this one.
This one?
Answer that.
Yeah, I think he does.
I think he does too.
I need one too, actually.
So we'd have to put a little bit of a side piece on.
Yeah, I guess
not
we got to
much.
go with those sustainer things, huh? Or do you think we can give now the fretless guitar thing? There's a fellow named James Allen Wilson, I think, who's done the fretless guitar thing, fretless electric guitar for a long time. And I know nothing about him. I've never heard his stuff. I've just seen him on the internet. I'm going to have to do some homework. But the problem that every luthier has ever come up with when I ask them about fretless guitar is sustain. Because you don't have, frets to, I don't know, I don't understand how it works. Now you being,
Here's the thing. When you have a fretted guitar, when you stop a note, you are actually putting enough pressure behind a fret to where this is the point where the string makes contact. It's not under your finger. You can alter the tuning and the tone from behind the fret with the pressure of your finger, but it actually makes contact with this metal fret, and then that reaches down on the guitar and hits a metal piece on your bridge. And that's what helps it to sustain, is that hard material contact. With any fretless instruments, traditionally you're talking violin, viola, cello, etc., you have a bow that is constantly being drawn across the instrument that is keeping the string in a steady, constant vibration. So with a electric guitar, if you don't have frets, you're losing part of that hard metal material, so you just have this, even if you have pretty good callus, it's a soft, fleshy material that the note's going to die away, is pretty much the idea. So what Brian is talking about, would you use something like a sustainer pickup, which most pickups like these are just passive magnets, and what they do is they just attract, they just pull at the strings, which can actually slow down the vibration of the strings. What a sustainer does is it artificially sends its magnetic field out to the strings and keeps it artificially vibrating as if you're pulling a bow against it. And the idea came from this little device that came out years and years ago called an EBow. And it's this little finger-held thing. You just hold it over a string, and all it does is sends out a little magnetic field on the string to keep it vibrating and sustaining.
That's the idea. So would you need that with a fretless guitar? I don't know. There's a guy in Japan that my friend Lucy Pillar turned me on to, and I'm trying to remember his name. I haven't heard anything from him for a while. Obviously, I can never see him in Atlanta because he's in Japan. I want to say Jim Donahue is his name. Lucy, if I'm wrong about that, please correct me. And I don't know what kind of pickups he's using. Steve Vai has a couple of fretless guitars, and he does use a sustainer, but I don't remember if he had a sustainer in that guitar. I would imagine that he probably did, because he doesn't do a lot with compressor pedals or anything like that to help artificially. He'll use some kind of a DS1 that's got a bunch of compression to it, plus he plays with pretty high gain, and at pretty high volumes that can create a field that does keep the string vibrating as well. But I think he probably does use a sustainer, just Steve being Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking mental notes because we're going to come out with a fretless. I've decided we're going to do that. I was reading the shout box, and there's some real interest in the fretless stuff. And I think George Price had a really good comment. He said the beauty of a fretless is no one knows if you're out of tune or not.
That is true.
Well, see,
And George would know, because George is, you've heard George play, he's a great guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
Does some really cool stuff.
The guy from the Screaming Headless Torsos plays a fretless. That's Lefty. Lefty wants one badly. Lefty, you and me, we will start the fretless guitar band.
Yes, we will be doing R&D. I'm in too.
Everybody meet at my shop next week.
There you go.
We will begin the process.
Let's see, what else we got?
But don't tease me. I'll be there.
Get there.
Okay,
Not
I'll be
Christmas
there.
Day.
Gerbo told Lefty that
Not
he
Christmas
hates,
Day, any day but.
but he thinks he'd be into it. I'm
do
kind of...
Now see, the thing about fretless guitar for me is being a slide guitar player, I'd like to have one guitar where I could do single note stuff, traditional, guitar work like we all do, including the bending of strings and not just the sliding of notes. Have traditional guitar vibrato as well as the opportunity to do like a violin type vibrato without bending the string, more moving the finger back and forth on the string, and still be able to emulate slide guitar type sounds or whammy bar type sounds, all in the same instrument.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's and it's probably going to be like when I started learning to play mandolin. It's going to be an entirely new instrument from scratch that I'm going to have to learn how to play, no matter how similar it is to any other instrument that we already play. It's going to be a start from scratch thing. So it's a race, Lefty. Me and you, buddy, because we know Mike practices way more than either one of us do. So.
And worst case, I'll set everything on fire, put gaff tape on it. Yeah. Yeah, no frets, just gaff.
It's an idea.
You won't have to worry about sustain then.
Gaff tape,
Yes.
fingerboard.
Embrace it. One day you'll see just this ball of gaff rolling down the highway. That's me. Question is, do you put a
Come
bumper
in.
sticker on a gaff tape truck?
That's a good question.
You don't really need to. You could just draw on it with a Sharpie.
You're right.
But you got to get a silver Sharpie so it'll show up.
No, it depends on the gaff tape.
Well, that's
And
true.
I
then
have
if
many
you
of
don't
those.
want that on there anymore, you just more gaff tape.
Earlier, I had to step outside to help someone with their computer,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I missed the thing with this guitar.
The thing,
Where are we at now with the latest update with this?
you didn't miss a thing because we haven't talked about it.
Okay, all right,
We-
good.
we-
I didn't know if I missed it. I'm really excited because I know there's so many necks here, and I don't know if one of these necks is actually going
No,
on
actually,
this.
Elizabeth addressed it on the shot box a minute ago. The neck for this guitar is
And she
in,
wants
is
the
in
fretless
work.
drum set.
It's in glue up right now.
Okay,
But it's going to be very similar to this one.
to that
The
one.
the biggest difference is the rosewood on the DS9 is much more rosy. This is almost a
Little browny.
walnutty
Yeah,
color.
walnut.
Is it a whole lot of rosy?
It's a whole lot of rosy. And so it's going to look a lot like this one. And again, instead of this
This will
headstock,
be more
a redder,
a
a
burnt
little
red color.
more of a
Okay.
redder, a redder touch to it. The fret markers are totally different, and it's going to have this headstock.
That
as opposed
headstock-
to this headstock.
More reddish, deep redwood,
hmm
and that headstock.
But the if you remember, it's kind of we got a flame figure in the
In the
in
back
the
of the
maple.
neck.
So there is some flame, which is really nice. It'll be it's going to be a beautiful neck. It's going to be really nice.
Okay, so what
So-
we're looking at is basically just for me, that a little redder.
Yep.
Okay.
With gaff tape.
Yeah, we'll put it on and then we'll take it off as needed.
That's the beauty of a gaff
So
tape
we're
neck.
basically
You
at the
take a little
same
off, you put a little more on.
point we were last week, correct me if I'm wrong, with the exception of this neck is now in mock-up. being
Yeah,
glued.
this
Okay.
body this week has not changed since last week. We've been doing nothing but neck stuff. And so this hasn't changed at all. Now, once we have the neck in more of a state like this, then we'll start fitting the neck to the body. That's why this area of this body has not been touched. It's
Still
very
roughed
rough.
out.
You can still see saw marks all over the place.
Virgin wood.
We'll start actually fitting it to the body, and then we'll start the process of doing all of the sanding, all the smoothing, all the cleaning, and then.
I
and then the
remember
finish work.
when you and Brian were holding these two pieces of wood up, talking about book match ends, and Mike was knocking on them.
Mhm.
And here they are on the guitar, and it just blows my mind that those were sheets of wood that you guys were passing around the table a few weeks back. That's phenomenal stuff to me.
It's starting to come together. It's, I've had a lot of comments on the body and the
Thank
wood, not your body.
I
And,
just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I'll let you go
Yeah.
into that later, but I do want to say I love whatever this is.
That's ebony. Yeah, and the ebony, as opposed to rosewood, ebony's a little brighter tone quality. It's gonna give it not quite as warm, a little brighter. A lot of bass players use ebony to help bring out the brightness of their bass without being muddy. It's a great combination. I love ebony.
Nice.
I really do.
Yeah.
Ebony is probably my favorite fingerboard material. Most of my guitars, think about that. All of my guitars are rosewood, but they're all maple necks, and the rosewood does help to warm up the sound of a guitar.
Exactly.
I've got basswood guitars and bolt-on necks and a lot of Floyd roses, so that bright, a little rosewood helps to temper that down a bit. But the feel, all of the classical guitars that I've played are very fine instruments, and they're all so dark. It's nice to have something that helps the note just sing. It articulates right at the peak of the note, and it feels very good under the fingers.
It's real
Maple
buttery.
necks, yeah, maple necks feel pretty good too, but maple necks are so bright that I don't tend to gravitate towards them. And there's something about a nice and a thick piece of ebony too. I think that helps to it not being too bright, but helps with that buttery, just stable feeling. I'd like to try it on a few different things. Having all maple neck guitars, the difference between that with a mahogany neck guitar, something that's very dark, but that really focused articulation at the peak of the note would be really cool to experiment around with.
Yeah, and the thing that ebony does the most is it adds clarity. Yeah, it is brighter. It is, but it's more of a clarity issue for me. What I hear than a trebly, harsher
Right.
sound.
Like maple,
That's
it
why
just
we-
generally sounds bright, but that's the thing, it's that focus on the articulation.
That's why
Because-
we put them on the Ablex, because it adds that bell clean, every note, you can't hide. It's one of those things where if you're a sloppy player, people are gonna know, because every note is heard, everything you do is heard. So you have to practice, but it's a really nice quality. That's what I like about it. This is one of my main X's, and G and I have talked about this guitar a lot. It is rosewood and a mahogany neck, which means warm, but everything else on this is so bright.
Right, that's an ash body?
It's a hard ash body
Which
as
is
opposed to
bright
swamp,
rosewood.
which is actually a little harder, with a maple top.
Which adds a little top to it.
And again, dense and hard.
I love that figure right
It's,
in there.
it's a great piece of wood. But
Betsy
so,
had an interesting question in the shout box about rosewood.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Is there still a ban or any restrictions still on rosewood?
I can get Brazilian
Brazilian.
rosewood today. You just have to go and do it through the proper channels. I know there's been an issue in the news lately with Gibson being raided
Right.
because they were concerned about how they were getting their rosewood. There's a legal way to do it and an illegal way to do it, and certain treaties that we have and certain they're not laws per se. They are laws, but they're not called laws. I can't remember what they call them.
Regulations.
Restrict, the flow of some of the exotic woods, and a lot of that has to do with they don't want the rainforest and everything destroyed, which they're being destroyed anyway, unfortunately. And we're constantly trying to find woods that we can use that are less intrusive on on the earth, but I got a block of Brazilian that's just killer right now, sitting in the shop waiting to be made into fretboards or whatever we want to do. And it just happens to be, I got it through the legal ways to get it. And there are certain things you have to be sure of as a seller of that and as a buyer of that. And so I think that's what Gibson's going through right now. They may come out just beautiful. It just depends on what's found in the investigations, but it's still available. Most wood is. They got to a point where they have certain treaties. The CITES treaty is one of them, where you could actually be detained and your guitar taken away from you going from one country to another if it has Brazilian rosewood on it. And so these treaties were put together to help that keep that from happening, and they're constantly being
That
tested.
would get somebody gaff taped in the face,
That's-
I'm afraid.
But those kinds of things are constantly being tested. There's a lot of new organizations popping up, luthier-related organizations talking about protecting us. Because the last thing I want to do is build a beautiful guitar with a Brazilian rosewood fretboard and have my artist get arrested flying over to France with it or something. you know?
Contraband.
So those are things that it's in constant flux, and they're always being changed and they're always being challenged. And I think it's a classic example of going overboard, really,
Yeah.
with a lot of this. We don't. I can only speak for myself here. I don't use enough wood to make a difference in the ecosystem of the world.
Right.
I use enough wood to make a difference in the sound of a guitar, and that's what I'm trying to do. The last thing I want to do, and most of the guys that I talk to that do this, the last thing we want to do is deplete the world's supply of Brazilian rosewood or whatever. If Gibson's doing what they're supposed to do, they're going to be fine. They use a lot of Brazilian rosewood, but still, in comparison to what's out there, it's still probably not very much.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with the wood guy from Paul Reed Smith, and we've
That
talked.
is actually his title.
Wood guy.
Guy.
He's the guy that finds wood for Paul Reed Smith.
If you need wood.
And Mike,
So-
Mike is, they buy a lot of wood. Now, right now, they're not buying a whole lot of wood, but nobody is, because right now, times are hard for even those guys. The Paul
Yeah.
Reed Smiths and the Gibsons and Fenders of the world are hurting right now, but there's plenty of wood. It just has to be gotten in the correct manner. All of our woods that we get are from sustainable forests. They're all from dead standing or down trees. All of the top woods I get, the guys I get them from, I'm not out there in the forest making sure the tree's dead, but the guys I get them from all are certified in that the guys that harvest it are getting stuff that, a lot of my woods come from northern, Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington, Northern California, and these guys go into action when, right after a storm comes through, they're out there.
Looking
And
for
they're looking for the spalted myrtles and the really cool woods that the storms have knocked down, and they get those Bastogne walnut, some just amazing woods that normally you wouldn't touch the tree unless it was dead or
Yeah.
had fallen or started to rot or whatever. So that's where we get our woods from, and it's something that we're really proud of and we're really concerned about, but like I said, we don't use enough wood to make a whole lot of difference. Probably most people use more wood than we do, lighting a fire in the fireplace. So anyway, enough about the politics of wood. I
Yeah,
guess.
the politics of wood.
Now here's a question I'm gonna get. I'm gonna educate myself here by picking the brains, but
No.
we've done a lot of.
No.
Come on! It's a real sharp poker. It'll only.
Only hurt for a minute.
It'll only hurt for a second,
Just a little bit.
and then you'll start drooling. But we've done a lot of discussion about the polyurethane versus nitro, but you use a lot of oil finishes.
Mhm.
And one thing we haven't really addressed that I'm interested in, I've seen my dad use it a lot on a lot of his woodworking projects. Unfortunately,
I
Dad's
was going
never
to say,
built a
you should
guitar.
be looking through his cabinetry.
Yes, I've been digging through his stuff
What are
since I
these
was.
magazines? I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
funny.
Sorry, please.
Polyurethane what?
Yes. So, one thing we haven't talked about a lot is the hand-applied dyes.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they sit? I mean, they're somewhere in between just the hand-rubbed oil finishes and it like a sprayed-on transparent or a nitro. You know, the dyes go on by hand. They
They go off by hand too.
yeah,
Die on.
die off.
That's right.
That is an
Rough
issue with them. They tend to wear off when you play.
No,
Or?
because like my blue guitar over here, the Jagata, that's got a blue aniline dye on it. And what I do with that is, aniline dyes, I can't really go into what all's involved in the dyes, but
Right.
the dye goes on, it gets absorbed into the wood.
Right.
And depending on what we want to do, we'll take some of it off. You can see the streaking in here, you can see the wood grain.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot bluer than this, and you can see the damage that was done at a gig one night too.
Attaboy.
Yeah. And so anyway,
Blue
so what we did was we took some of it back off. We wanted it to kind of have that driftwoody,
Mm-hmm.
that natural kind of look to it, and that's what we developed. But that's actually absorbed to the wood, and then we put our lacquer finish on top of
Mm-hmm.
that. So I guess down the road, if this got played every night, and
Once you get through the lacquer,
once you go through the lacquer, you're going to start finding the dye, and then
Mhm.
once you eventually you'll
you
go through
probably
the dye.
start eating through the wood, I would imagine, to get really get the dye out.
Yeah,
You
because
get a little divot.
it does soak in, you know, and then we just develop our own colors. You know, we've got this blue. We've got one we call an ocean blue that we did a guitar for. A little different, huh?
Mhm.
See, it's really interesting to come here and do the show with Mike because he will find everything,
That's
and that's a really good thing for me. I really appreciate that because it makes me a better builder. But
And see, the other guitars were, you know, pretty close to unison. This one sounds more like a fifth.
That guitar has an incredible sound to it when you're playing it. It's a real sleeper.
yeah, I'm enjoying that too. Need to plug that one in. But yeah,
Yeah, I find those notes.
the Beatles. That was the Beatles. I heard that last chord. Anyway, aniline dyes. Yeah. So that's what we do. It
Yeah.
actually gets absorbed into the wood, then we put the finish on top of that. You wouldn't just do the dye and leave it that way.
Right.
You know.
Okay, gotcha.
And this again, the nitrocellulose
You ever work
lacquer.
with fuzzy dyes?
I've never worked with a fuzzy
Fuzzy
dye.
dye?
I had
Fuzzy-
some
I've
hanging
got
in my
some.
car
I got
once.
some
That'd be
hanging
very,
from the
Billy
rearview
Gibbons.
mirror.
Yeah. Well, I think Billy Gibbons
He has
uses
fuzzy dyes. Yeah, on his guitar. Sorry.
There it goes right in the gutter again.
Sorry.
It's
If
amazing.
you walk out to front and look at our cars, you'll see why I ask about fuzzy dyes.
That's right.
I'm like, I don't know, 2 steps down the evolutionary pole from, I won't say it. Sorry.
From fuzzy
that was
dyes.
that was from somebody who would have fuzzy dyes in it.
Yes. The with an
Dun, dun,
IQ
dun, dun, dun. Next.
with an IQ between salt shaker and toaster oven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously very racially sensitive.
We
Speaking of Brazilians, Lefty
Lefty is,
loves oil finishes.
and I think there might be something to that. But
If
I
there's a
won't go there.
correlation between Brazilians and
oil
I
finishes.
thought that had more to do with wax. But that's
Some
another,
of
another
both.
show altogether.
Both. It's wax first and then the oily finish after.
We have fun on Wire.
You learn
Yeah.
something every day here. That's the cool thing about it.
So then would my hair looks nice, my legs look nice and smooth? Is
Yeah.
that the
Yes.
way that works?
Yeah.
Nair for short shorts.
I don't wear short shorts. And
I don't wear shorts at all.
Be thankful.
My
Be very
legs
thankful.
are about this color.
Ooh, cadaver. Yes, Brian is actually dead.
Yes. When you spend as much
A man
time.
barely alive.
That's right. When you keep those nighttime vampire musician hours, this is early for me. You keep those musician hours and you stay under like the lights in studio at night, and you can actually turn a gray color.
Ooh.
Sean Grove has that complexion sometimes.
Yeah.
When he's working on a project and he stays indoors.
I just stay up late enough until the dark circles under my eyes encompass my body. That's when I know it's time to take a nap.
Well,
Kind of like today.
I was telling Brian earlier, and G as well, we've reached a point I have in my life where instead of burning the candle at both ends, we've actually lit the candle in the middle now. So it's just really been interesting as far as how many projects you can have going at one time.
What I'm a fan of and what I do is I light both ends, put another candle underneath the middle, and then I take 2 acetylene torches and from the upside start blowing down on them that way. So we get
Nice.
just, and
All
we do that
encompassing.
all in a brick oven.
And when it's all done, you have a big ball of wax.
And it goes a lot quicker.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it does go a lot quicker. I don't know if I get anything done, but that's pretty much what I do every morning. I start with that ball of wax. I shape it into something.
I have an
and
idea.
Set it on fire.
What's your idea, G?
With gaff tape.
It would have applied to 2 of your wood guitars, but you happen to have 2 Abelexes here today. What I'm curious about is, with all Mike's knowledge of the different materials, tones, and things, you have 2 different cut Abelexes and 2 similar Gibson style body guitars, but with different woods, and they'll sound differently just because the material is different. So with the different
What are you trying to say, G?
overall mass of the 2 Abelexes and the different quantity of mass of quality rather of those 2, I'd like to hear them play the 2 pairs to talk about the tone and how it's different and why.
Well, there's so many different contributing factors too, between different bridges,
Mhm.
different
Pickups.
There's that would be a really
And even the wood in the 2 Abelexes, the necks are very, very different. So
one's
you
rosewood,
have
one's mahogany, or one's maple.
So
I would
they're-
probably gravitate towards this guy personally with the mahogany neck.
It,
And,
it's warm. It's
Yeah.
nice.
see
It's
that-
amazing how you can take a piece of metal and make it have some warmth to it. Even when you just think about it, it's just not something that you consider. And when I told the story before, when Jeff Abel first approached me about doing those guitars, I thought, what could this possibly sound like? It's going to be the metalheads, the shredders. Those guys were the guys that were gravitating toward these guitars. But you can mold the sound and the tone with different things, and that's what I did. I did that one with that mahogany neck just for that reason. When I first did that guitar, I did it with a maple neck, and it was great. And I thought, this is really cool, but boy, it's just not warm enough for me for what I want to do. So I changed it, and that's if I go to play an Abel X, that's the one I'll take with me to play because I can get great tone, and it still kind of envelops you and,
Right.
and it feels warm and really
Right.
good, and it doesn't make your ears bleed, and that's really what I was worried about. And it's just part of my learning process is just the fact that you can do that with something made out of aluminum, and it's really, really cool. And the sustain and the resonance factors are just built in. I mean, you can sustain an aluminum guitar, whether you have anything matching right or not, it'll sustain.
Mhm.
It just does. It's just the kind of the nature of the beast. When you start tweaking things, it really does.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or Eric
Johnson.
thank you, play one of these guitars. I think it would be really cool. It
If
would
you
lend
could get
themselves-
Eric Johnson to play
Oh.
one of these, I would love to watch that.
I would love to
'cause
see
he's such a vintage guy.
Well, and he's very particular. So Satriani, they're very, they're anal about their sound and what they use and how they tweak it. It would be so neat to have them to get the feel of that guitar and say yes or no, or I kind of like it, or well, here's what I would do different. That's what we did with Gunnar Nelson with his Abel Axe, and Gunnar's totally the other direction as far as what he wants. He's the guy that started doing the Moses graphite necks.
Mhm, mhm.
So we're talking no wood on the guitar. He wanted to use ESP pickups, or EMG pickups, sorry, and we never had used those before. And what he was trying to do was replicate an old headless guitar that he used to play on Nelson's first album.
Right.
And if you listen back at that, now that wasn't one that was in my collection at the time, but I have since gotten that record. And if you listen back, there were some great guitar sounds coming out of that record.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did was we wanted to try to find a way back to that, and we were able to do that. But he did so much of the R&D for us on that, so we could tweak it and make it work for him. And it's turned out really well, and a totally different sounding guitar than either one of these.
Right.
Just a completely another world.
Now, Lefty was asking how much warmth and tonal balance has to do with where the pickup is located.
That's part of it as well. And with these guitars, it's pretty traditional. I believe this neck pickup is probably a little closer to the bridge than a standard Strat would be, or a standard Les Paul, because the body is a little condensed. This is a little bit smaller than your typical Strat body, and so they're probably squished together a little bit more. It's also, no, that's not. I was going to say that might be 25-inch scale. It's not 25.
Well, that's a good question. With this one, is typically on a Strat you have that single coil spacing pickup closer up to the end of the fingerboard,
Yep.
and that's at least one pickup spacing away.
Yeah.
Was there a particular reason for that?
That was actually, if there was, I'm not aware of it, because that was actually done by Jeff.
Okay.
And as it turns out, the way I compensated for that was...
And that's beyond where the 24th fret would be, so it's beyond the note
Right,
point.
right. And the way I compensated for that was I put a humbucker in. If you look at this guitar, it's got a mini humbucker in it.
Right.
So it's a warmer pickup. So those are the things that I've done to make it work for me. Where a normal Strat neck pickup might be a little tinny or raw or different.
Yeah.
That little 59 in there added some warmth, added some body to it, and I was able to make it work for me. And those are the kinds of that's the kind of tweaking we're doing all the time. It's really fun. That way you can kind of make it your own, you know. And even with something that's the aluminum, every Abel-X body is pretty much the same. You know, you're not going to get different qualities between ash and a mahogany in the wood as you would with the two aluminum bodies. They're just pretty much two aluminum bodies. They're all cut out the same. They all weigh the same. So there's not a whole lot of variation there. The variation has to come from the electronics and the neck.
Here's where I would like to chime in, and I'll be Mike Martin. That's because he's using a certain aluminum. There's many grades
Oh, yeah.
of aircraft aluminum and different things
Yep.
to where he could get completely different sound
Absolutely.
and weight by changing his T scale.
Yep.
A T503 to
And I'm
a
assuming,
T30.
are these 6061?
6061
Yeah.
aluminum, yeah. And that's what's used for every Abel-X body. Yeah.
So it's always going to be consistent.
It's going to be consistent. And I'm sure that there may be some little subtle thing somewhere, probably nothing you'd ever hear, you know.
Yeah,
Maybe
if
Mike
he-
would hear it.
If he's got a standard type of jig or laser
Well,
guided
it's
drill,
all of those are
it's
done
gonna
on
be the
CNC
same.
machines, so they're all the same. They're all the same. And again, that's where that was another departure from what I do. Where
Yeah,
he's used water jets and CNCs, and everything is just right there and done. Where we don't do any of that in our shop. It's all done with templates and routers and shaking and scratching your head. That always makes it work a little
When
better.
you get them, are the
And pulling on
pickup,
the beard.
Yeah.
are the pickup holes cut out already when you get them?
Everything's done. Now, we may get a request for somebody that says, I want that slotted guitar body style, but I want two humbuckers.
So you'll be able to
Those are
take the difference.
and what he does, what Jeff will do is I'll call him up and he presses a button and it changes the template and two humbuckers come out, you know? And it's
That's
really
awesome.
kind of neat.
That's
But when you're
awesome.
doing stuff like this, it makes perfect sense. It makes
Yeah.
absolute perfect sense to do that.
I'm kind of fan of that aluminum body, I gotta tell you.
That's cool.
I'm not sure about the yellow and orange one, but
No, I bet you that looks great on stage.
the purple one
Mhm.
sounds
That look
dynamite
very
when it's
nice.
played. It can be a metal sounding guitar, but I've heard you do a couple licks on that thing that was
There's some
blues
sweetness
classic
there.
rock, and it's got sweet tones to it. I'd
The-
love to hear those two play them.
The one story that I told, I might have told it here already, was when Jeff had first approached me, he brought over an Abel-X, and it was one of the original ones. It was like this, only it was just silver. It was just
Yeah.
aluminum. And he said, let me know what you think. And that weekend I had a gig, and it was a blues gig. And I took one of my guitars and I took the Abel-X. And about halfway through the night, I picked up the Abel-X and started playing it. And just, first of all, the crowd response going,
Yeah, yeah,
what's
wow.
going on? What the hell is that? And then the guy that I was playing with.
That's what it's like to be me every day.
Yeah. Isn't it cool?
I go to the grocery
Well,
store.
that's a good thing.
What
Yeah.
the hell's wrong with that guy?
But the guy that had me playing with him, it was a pickup gig for me, threw me a solo. We were doing Red House,
Yeah.
and threw me a solo,
Big Sound of Dynamite.
and it exploded. It was
Yeah.
amazing, and it was the guitar, and I didn't get another solo the rest of the night.
Okay, yeah.
That was it. But boy, it got people's attention, and it wasn't just because it was loud or harsh or anything. It was just amazing. It was really good. So.
George is asking, how about titanium? Of course, it costs a whole lot more, but other tonal quantities that are worth looking at, expansion, other issues?
You know, I think there's a couple of guys that have dabbled in it, and I think the cost issue is probably the biggest thing.
Titanium's very, very expensive, but it, for the weight of aluminum, it's much lighter. That would
That would
relieve some
really-
of that issue.
Yeah, and there's guys out there making bodies totally out of composites. One of the guys that we were across from at NAMM show last year in Anaheim makes a guitar called the Handle, and it's a hollow graphite composite body, graphite neck, and just to strum it like you're doing here, you go. No, yeah, it has no personality, but you plug it in and you put some effects on it. It's an amazing guitar, an amazingly lightweight guitar. It doesn't weigh anything, and so if you're an effects kind of guy,
And it's all about the electronics.
it's all about the electronics because there's no
Right.
personality in the guitar itself, you know. And they're doing very well. They're really cool looking. Here I am promoting somebody else's guitars, but something very different than we would do.
There's an audience for
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
and it's really interesting. XOX Audio is the name of the company, and they're just really cool guitars. But if you're just going to strum it and play it clean through an amp, it's not my cup of tea. It doesn't really have a lot of life. You throw in the distortion or you throw in some of your effects, and
Or
it's
just-
a beast.
Massive molten metal.
That too. So there.
Chemical Comics was asking, can you bring in an aluminum blank on the show?
I'd have to
Do
get
you
with
have
Jeff.
any of them?
I
Do you have
don't.
any?
I don't
Because
because
you get them from Jeff.
yeah, I have to get it from Jeff. The bodies are done in Jeff's shop, and Jeff is still in Montana, where we used to be.
See you, Lefty. Have a good day.
Bye, Lefty.
Bye, Lefty.
Thank you for tuning
Take
in.
care,
If you have
Lefty.
any questions, man.
We'll talk after the show. We might be able to pull something off for,
Yeah.
for Jeff.
Yeah, but that's something that we could do very possibly. Jeff's going to be here in a couple of months on a business trip, and it would be really fun to
Get him here on a Thursday.
bring him down and to talk about the guitars because he's he's quite an entrepreneur, and he does a lot of his main living is making fly fishing reels.
Okay.
He lives a mile from the Bitterroot River in Montana, and so he does all this aluminum work.
So he's been fishing.
And once or twice.
We still
He
haven't
actually
gone
caught
fishing.
one. Yeah, so, but he does all kinds of things with aluminum, and the anodization process comes in there. That's where he learned that. He has reels that are multicolored anodization that are just amazing. They're works of art, and they're made to go catch a fish, which is the coolest thing in the world as far as I'm concerned.
And
So
if,
that's-
you're into fishing, you spend a lot of time, staring at that water, looking at that reel.
there's a lot.
Might as well be pretty.
Yeah, and it's a whole nother world getting into that kind of stuff, and Jeff's in that world. But he's also a guitar player and a huge fan of the guitar world. And when he started Able Axe, it was just a passion more than anything else because it was something else he could do with the guitars, and he could hang out with some really cool folks, and he can meet Mark Slaughter and Vinnie Moore and all these really cool people that have played Able Axes.
Vinnie Moore's a
And-
bad shut your mouth guitar player.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the reason Jeff started doing it, and so and again that's how he found me eventually, to do the other part of it for him. So there's the Able Axe history lesson for the day.
Yeah.
Do
There
we
will be a
have a
quiz later.
second amp somewhere around here?
I may have my big one in the car if you.
Want to go get it?
Well, I'd probably have to do that, but
Yeah, with 30 minutes left, mine is tube and cold, so it's probably not a
yeah,
great
well,
idea.
so is mine. But I could.
Because it won't get up to room temperature fast enough to turn it on.
But there, I think I have just pretty much said it all for me today. I don't know what else.
Exhausted,
I don't know.
huh?
I don't know. What else I can
And
add.
he's spent.
I'm just going to crawl under the table and lay down for a minute.
Nap time. Oh, it's
I
great.
have a quick question, just because I don't know. The ebony versus the other woods.
The ivory.
readily available and no problems with no governments and things and.
I don't think there's governmental issues with ebony, but getting black ebony, true black ebony. A lot of the
It's
ebony
hard.
you see now looks like a very, very tight grain rosewood. Except if you look at,
And
if
this
you look
one-
closely at rosewood, you'll see there's just enough.
Got some character.
It's not
Yeah,
like
it's got-
mahogany where you can see little pits in it, but you can see enough of that in rosewood. It looks like that, not this light, but without that pitting. It's
So it's
just
hard to get it
completely
black
smooth
now.
on that ebony. It's real hard to get. A lot of times what people will do is they'll get that piece of ebony and then they'll dye it black.
They'll dye it black.
I don't know if that's a dyed piece or not. You can
It
see
may-
a little grain through
Yeah,
it.
you can
Yeah.
see some grain, but I'll bet it's been touched. You
Yeah.
know, and it's pretty good quality. The nice thing about what you're saying is whether it's black or whether you can see the grain in it, the tone qualities are the same.
Yeah.
You know, or as the same as two pieces of wood are going to be. But and a lot of guys will do that. It's called ebony black, and it's like shoe polish. That's
Right.
what it looks like, and it just pretty much kills any grain that you might normally see. I like it.
Yeah.
I love ebony with grain running through it. It's very cool looking, you know, and it's certainly not.
It depends.
You know,
Like I've
forget
seen,
it.
on some consumer guitars I've seen rosewood grain, and I know it doesn't matter, but the grain is a little curvy. For an OCD guy like me, that kind of distracts me. I don't want to see that. I want to see a nice straight grain on the fingerboard. These are much better. There's some
There's a
little
little bit of-
listing to it, but it's not.
And see, I'm just
It's
the
not
opposite.
curvature.
I love the life that the grain brings, as long as it's not compromising
Stability.
the stability of the wood. And so that's one thing you have to look at. I've got a couple of necks made out of kingwood. They're kingwood fretboards, which is wild, and it's really cool. So as an art piece or as a piece that people are going to look at, it's really kind of a neat thing to do. Then it's a balance issue whether it's taking away from what the rest of the guitar is saying visually as well. So there's all sorts of things to look at, but I like the busyness of it. I don't look at my hands most of the time anyway, so I don't see it. But to have someone come up and go, "Whoa, that grain's really wild." All right, nobody's ever done that before, but anyway, I like it.
I have. I'm that guy.
Yeah, if it's a pretty piece of wood, I'll definitely go up and talk to people about their guitars.
And I don't know if anybody can hear. We'll do an extreme close-up. We haven't done an extreme close-up
Do it.
today.
Wired
Let's see.
wood, wired wood,
Whoa!
close up, wired wood.
Whoa! See, you can see the, and trying to get the light right here, but you can see. Here, we'll do an extreme close-up again. Whoa! Bird's eye. Little spots there. And we have fret markers, and we also
show 'em this
have
one, it's mine.
random. Huh?
Show them this one. It's mine.
Oh, there you go. There we go. Whoa, extreme close-up.
Really close up.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
And if you can see that, that's not a decal of the company logo.
No,
that's,
that is
that's
not.
actually
Laser
burned into
etched.
wood.
Very beautiful stuff.
That's right. We don't mess around.
Well, we can get very distracted by little bird's eyes.
I have a question. Next week's show, if we do it, will fall on Christmas Eve. I'm down if you guys are down.
I'm out.
I'm out.
Family.
Family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this will
great
be the
thing
last
to
one
ask
of the
on
year.
air.
Yeah.
Well, I
Love
figured
you.
let everybody
Love
know
you.
now. You know
Love
what I
you,
mean?
love
Yeah.
you, mean it. I'm gonna go home today and do a little film segment, just a little quick one, just so we can say hello to everybody.
Okay, cool. It would be a great week maybe to show the stuff from your shop if we have that shot.
If we can get that done before Christmas, that'd be great.
Yes, we will try to do that.
But the schedule, like I said earlier, my schedule between now and the end of the year
It's
is
nuts.
just stupid.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see what we can fit in and what we,
My
I know,
schedule went straight past stupid to downright like foolish.
I know that
Yeah,
everybody's
mine's in
hanging
that,
on our
yeah.
every word every week when we're here, but we may have to do Christmas separate this year.
I'm canceling Christmas. That's what I do. I'm dedicated to everything. I'm canceling Christmas. Sorry, kids.
Now, with you and Mike having items that are for sale to people who are looking for something of that quality, his being 205 and your being your guitars, is there any sales that you're having for Christmas to try to help somebody get those things for someone they love or for
We're
themselves?
blowing them out right now.
Crazy
You ever seen that-
prices! You won't believe these prices.
You ever
They're
seen
ridiculous.
that guy on the?
I'll eat a bug if you find a better price on my CD.
There's a guy on late night TV
I've
on
got a couple,
cable
I'm just
that
kidding.
does the knife show. Have you ever seen the knife show?
No.
And they sell like 50 knives for $49, and
Yeah.
some of them are like really giant. Well,
Yeah.
I'm that guy right now.
Yeah.
I'm making deals right now. You call
Will
me.
not be undersold.
Go to the website. The phone number is there. Call me. We are talking turkey right now.
It's a link for Delaney Guitars is on Dirty South TV under the music support companies,
Yep.
and also to say the URL, it's www.DelaneyGuitars.com.
DelaneyGuitars.com.
And it's
Mike
MikeMartin.net,
.net.
and your CDs are for sale from the website.
Yes, you can get them right there. They will be hand packaged by me if you want them signed. For whatever reason, if you would like me to doodle, put a little Mr. Grumpy face on it for you, I will do that for no charge this Christmas season. And it's
So-
all hand packaged by me. with
And you
love.
could still get stuff to people by Christmas, being that we're a week outside of Christmas Eve. You guys could still ship
Depending
3
on
days.
where you are. If you're in the continental United States, I would say yeah. If you're beyond that, you may be pushing it a week out.
And I've got one of the pages on the Delaney Guitars website is available guitars.
Okay,
It's guitars that we've got
in stock right now.
Yeah, and normally in stock is non-existent at Delaney Guitars because it's basically to order. But we do have some from NAMM shows that we use, and we've got discounts on those as well. So there's 3 or 4 guitars available right now. Otherwise, if somebody wanted to order a guitar from me, we're talking March right now.
Okay.
Just the way it
So
is.
of your existing stock, you have ridiculous deals on a couple of different
Excellent
models
deals.
of guitar. Is there any basses included in this?
I have no basses left.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, my last bass is in Charlie Wooten's hands right now
Right
being
on.
played. So
How many models would you guess that are on blowout sale right now?
there may be 4 guitars up there.
4.
Yeah.
And if
when
they
I
had
get back to
cash,
the house,
now's the
this
time to buy?
Yeah, when I get back to the house, what I'll do is I'll tweak that page, make sure everything's up to date, and we'll put a blowout Dirty South prices on there for the
Okay,
people who
cool.
watch the show. We'll give a special discount to the Dirty South people.
And with your album, you'll sign it custom for people, put the message they want in there,
Oh yeah.
and what's the price?
The price is $10 plus shipping, I believe.
10
I believe
plus
there's
shipping.
still shipping on there, depending on U.S. or international. So wherever you are, it's the button.
Is there any multi-disc deals?
If you
Two
want
for
to buy
this much,
multiple
three for-
copies, shoot me an email, and I don't have anything set up through my PayPal account for that.
And that's
but
Mike at
let me know.
MikeMartin.net.
Mhm. And that is on the website as well. Just go to
And
contact.
you'll
and you can
personally
click right over.
custom tailor an order for them if they want
yeah.
to buy multiple
Oh,
copies.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that people know
Like, if
that
you
there's
wanna
still a
buy
week left to do
500
some of this kind of
copies,
stuff.
I might make you a deal. If you want to buy 2 copies, we'll see. But yes.
And
Also,
Brian, I understand you're going to be playing real cheap for Christmas.
No.
No.
I am playing, I am busy, and most of my shows are no cover though. So
Right on.
sneak out and see us. Play-
Where are you guys, starting with Mike Martin, playing between now and say Christmas Day?
let's see. Monday, I am playing at Smith Solvard as a Blues Christmas
Oh, that's
with
right.
Blues Cat and Barry Richmond. It's going to be fun. I've got Brian Stevens on drums for this one since John McKnight is out of town. Eric Frampton will be with me on keys, and I've got a little thing. I'm still settling on a bass player because I've got a few guys available that want to do it, and I'm not sure who it's going to settle out to yet, but it'll be a surprise bass player for the evening. It's going to be fun. I think it's $8 tickets in advance, $10 at the door. Plus, Smith's does the bring a couple of cans if you're into that, to donate for just charitable causes this time of year. It's cold and people need to eat, and canned goods are great for that stuff.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, obviously, we have the Knicks Jam. We've got Rick Shoemaker from Jana and Spot sitting in on drums. He's our celebrity guest drummer while John is out of town for the holiday, but Kirk and I will be there. I'm leaving in the morning, so that keeps me covered in for that. If you do come to the Monday show or the Wednesday show, I've always got CDs with me, so if you don't want to order and you need to get CDs locally, you can get them right there for me. And of course, if you got cash, I have pockets.
Well put.
And Mike,
I'm playing tonight at Mudcats.
up in
Dunwoody
All up ends.
area, with Mike Delaney and Blue Screw, and this is here's a first. Could be the swan song for this band. It's like I said, the gods have not been in our favor, but we've had a lot of fun, and we're gonna have a really good time tonight. And then Wednesday night, I'm gonna plan on being at a jam.
Nice.
Maybe I might even bring a guitar and get a chance to play one song. You never know.
Tell you what, come out early.
Yeah.
To sit in with me, Kurt and Rick.
Yeah,
Because
it'd be fun.
it's gonna be crazy.
Cool.
The Wednesday
Last year
before
was,
Thanksgiving
yeah.
was nuts. This year it's gonna be nuts. It was a little slow this week, so I think everybody's gonna hit us up next
Just
Wednesday.
bring maybe 2 guitars with you. I would probably let Mike grab that purple one, and then you play whatever. Probably the Jagad. I would imagine you should have straight by
You
then.
never know.
Yeah,
You never
and,
know. And then I got one other little thing on Tuesday night at Two Urban Licks. Yeah, it's a little trio. We call it dinner blues. It's real quiet blues that we do, and
Yeah.
it's fun. And we got a couple more of those, a couple more Tuesdays to do that. We're done.
What time is that?
7 to 11. It's old guy hours. I like it. I'm gonna be home and in bed before 2. It's great.
Okay.
So that's what I've got going on.
And Brian?
Oh boy, y'all get your pen and pencil out. The reason I don't have CDs for sale is because I'm not home enough to do any recording. Let's see here. This weekend.
You don't have to tell them about your job at the airport men's room. That's okay. Or the rest stop.
Ooh, yeah, wow. I don't even know what to say to that. I've been told on. Friday night, I'm doing a lot of stuff on the south side. Friday night, I'm at a place called Backwoods on Jodico Road. That's exit 222.
Southside and backwoods and the comment I just made, you're just making it worse, man. You're just digging that hole
Airport.
deeper.
I'm at the airport all week.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Wonderful. No, I'm playing at Backwoods. It's Brian Cameron and friends. Got some really great guys playing with me. Kent Hopperly on drums, Dave Honorado on guitar, Hal Mahan, we call him the Wolf on bass,
Hal's my man. I haven't played with Hal in forever.
and
Give him a hug for me.
Stephen Neal playing the keyboards, dragging an Oberheim organ controller.
Wheatley.
Yes, and Leslie.
Right on.
Always with the
Wow.
Leslie.
Right on.
So that's a lot of fun for us.
My favorite instrument ever made.
But we will be at Backwoods Friday night. We'll be at Motorhead Saturday night, which is always a fun gig. Got potluck dinner going on there. So
I need
that's
to
gonna
come
be
on
cool.
down to Motorheads, man. I haven't
Yeah,
been
you
there
do.
since it was Blue Sky, and I think after the first of the year, I need to make the trip down
They can
there.
get a decent
Now's the
sized
time.
crowd
We'll get you
on a
hooked up.
Saturday night.
I'll talk to the boss lady for you. And then let's see. The rest of the week, let's see. The following week, Tuesday night, I'm going to be at Zuffy's with Don
Nice.
Hopkins and Bobby Lee Rogers.
Nice.
Saw them Tuesday night and left early. Went home, relaxed, tried to get caught up. See, I'm the only one rested today because of that. But no, Donna and Bobby Lee are always gracious and asked me to come back and bring my guitar next week. So, and then going to try to make the Mike Martin jam myself.
That's gonna be a party.
Wednesday
It
night.
is a
That'll be a
party.
party.
We'll be fighting each other. I'll bring that Soldano and we'll run one of these able axes through it and see how brutal it can get.
Excellent. In that little room, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Peel the
then-
paint right off.
People
Yes,
love me.
sir. That's right.
This is
That's why I point my amp. You know, at Nick's, you've got the stage there. Mike's on the right side, pointing straight at the back door, and I bring that Soldano and I point it straight at the bar, which is only about 6 feet in front of me. I mean, if I fall down, I still won't hit the bar because I'm not 6 feet tall, but I can be awful close if I reach out.
You can grab your drink at least.
That's right.
Almost.
Almost
So
there.
close. Oh, but yeah, I'm a busy boy. Y'all come out and see us.
You might want to. Are you? How do I say this?
Broadcasting.
Are you broadcasting Sunday?
Yes.
Okay.
We
Maybe
have
I'll
a
bring that
busy week as well. Saturday night we have a double header in a mansion. We're going to be on both floors broadcasting 2 different shows all night long. Saturday night.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Then Sunday from noon to 8, which will, if I know all our friends, will really be 10 to 10. We have the first Dirty South TV Holiday Potluck Jam, and that's going to be from noon to 8 technically, and a lot of people have already confirmed they're going to be here, and hopefully you guys will be in the neighborhood as well.
I will be here.
Especially you, you're right down the block.
I live here, so I
Bring
don't have an
whatever toys
excuse.
you want, you know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, you can even bring some stuff the day before if you want and get it here.
There you go.
I'm gonna redo the house, of course, so there'll be more space for everybody. And
Less underwear.
we
more
will be
space.
broadcasting the whole thing live. We'll have the main camera shooting in this room, and then we're probably gonna have this one in that hole aimed at the front door.
And I'll bring the little baby camera
Yeah,
for
we
another
can
angle.
definitely
We'll
do
be
that.
good
Not
to
like
go.
all this stuff.
Definitely.
I'll be roaming around.
Yeah, the roaming camera for sure.
Yes,
Interesting.
we'll be cutting to we'll be cutting to people in the
And then
bathroom.
Monday we'll
Hey,
be
Merry
6 as
Christmas.
well. So
Okay.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4 gigs in 3 days.
Nice.
4 live
Sweet.
things in 3 days.
Right on, right on.
Tune
Yeah,
in
we're
to
gonna be
Dirty
pretty
South.
busy. We don't have anything yet Friday, but I'm still kind of working on it. But I'm really swamped with technology for this show and with building websites. So I'd like to stay home Friday night, unless we go hear somebody who might be in a neighborhood.
Well, I'll be on Jodco Road. We
Call
might
me
be
Friday and remind me.
Yeah, we might have to broadcast
That's tomorrow?
from backwoods. Yeah,
It'd be awesome. I'll think about it, definitely. If worse comes to worse, we'll at least get it real good and broadcast it later on. So
There you
yeah,
go.
let's talk. After, yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
I just wanted to say to you guys, in case I don't see somebody, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Um,
That's
Merry
right.
Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yes, please send happy holiday wishes
Happy New
home to
Year.
your respective partners and family members and loved ones.
And cats.
I'm
And
sending,
wives too.
I'm sending you
cats.
home with a gift, and you just have to bring
You're a
whatever
rebel.
back in 2 weeks or whenever for Kim.
Right on.
All right. So I'll do this now. I don't know
On
if you
air,
can
on
see
air
it.
gift giving.
On
You should
air
be able to
gift
see it
giving.
later on. This is RAM that I pulled out of laptops to
Okay.
put more RAM in.
That's.
I
you to
think
talk.
it's for her model,
Okay.
but I'm not positive until you open up her laptop and try. But I don't know how many slots she has, 1, 2, 3, 4, but here's 4 sticks that might help her out. Whatever
Yeah,
you don't
just
use, just bring
it
back. Yeah.
Thank you so
There
much.
you go.
But whatever she uses, she can
Yeah.
keep forever, unless she ever gets rid of the laptop. Then just bring it back one day.
Right
you know.
on. Right on.
But it's something in there should be a decent size, and it should help her out.
Well, we keep computers until they're, basically
Yeah.
advocates.
So that's for
Or
Kim to.
avoci, whatever.
Yeah.
For you to figure out what Kim can use, and hopefully something in there works, and we can get her from a half a gig to over a gig would be my, if she's got 3 or 4 slots, and then we're
We
gravy.
just lost the feed here, just so you know.
We did?
We got no picture.
Huh?
So for those of you who are watching this later,
It says everything's fine.
Okay.
but maybe it's just we went to sleep here. So anyway,
Yeah.
Merry
I
Christmas,
did.
everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy
It's been fun.
Hanukkah.
Hey, we're back.
Yeah.
It really has been fun the last few weeks. Looking forward to some good time with family.
2010,
And,
baby.
Mhm.
2010
It's my motto.
is chock full of new projects and more craziness and lots of stuff.
And I will be in Tennessee for the new year. I think I'm gonna go to. There's a place called, I think it's called Red Bones, and it's in Jackson, Tennessee. And last year I was there. We had there was a great R&B band playing on New Year's Eve. R&B and blues and soul. Had Gator Tails.
Ooh.
Right on.
Good
And,
stuff. Good stuff with Leonard.
I'm thinking that's gonna be
Friday?
that's gonna be a repeat for me. Are you guys working New Year's or?
Nope.
I'm leaving it to the amateurs. I'm gonna hide in the house.
We were booked by 3 different people, and it fell through all 3 of them. But one of those gigs is Saturday night's doubleheader is a replacement gig for. They paid us for New Year's,
Right.
so they're like, "Can you come do this instead?" I'm like, "You're on." I've got this amp warming up. If somebody would like to play a guitar, Mike.
I played
any
the
of us
intro.
play guitar?
I played the intro. You played the outro.
There you go. And I'll listen and
What should
enjoy
I
it.
play, Mike?
I like the purple one, but we haven't heard the yellow one yet. So whatever you want.
I think this one, the neck is a little bit straighter on it. This
Perfect.
one, the cold weather's giving him the bow.
See if it buzzes. See if the
This guy, I think.
if it actually plugs in.
Oh, was this guy the
This
loose
one,
guy?
that's the loose one,
Yeah.
but it'll probably.
Well, that's all right. It should be
Yeah.
fine. That's the
As
beauty
long as
of
you
it.
don't, do
A
anything.
barrel O Jack.
And Mike Delaney and I
excited.
are gonna sit here and watch Mike Martin
I'll make fun of him.
perform
We're
his
just gonna sit
magic.
over here, or you want me to sit over
here
here?
if you want.
I can sit any place. I've got 2 buns.
There would
Yes.
be great.
As Mike
Oh,
Have the
prepares.
volume all
That's
the way
actually a
down.
new verb that I
Yeah, as
coined
Mike
last
prepares,
night.
I'll get over here in the
You
shout
big
box and
buns.
Yeah.
visit with folk.
Don't make me look bad, Mike.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to make myself not look bad.
There you go.
Once you're plugged in, I'm gonna turn
Yeah,
that volume up.
Mike will be tuning up here. Let's see.
Oh,
I'm gonna
tunes
Hey,
for
time for
cowards.
a request.
I'm gonna
George
have
Price wants big side dots.
Big
Oh yeah, George, I'm with you 100%, my friend.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a blank fretboard with big side dots.
I do side arrows.
Side arrows. Well, thanks for checking out Wire and Wood. Let's let Mike do his thing.
Yeah, that's great.
See, when you play the blues, you don't have to go through all of this. You just play. When you're a technician, like Mike. I hope everyone understands how much we put Mike on the spot by making him grab a guitar he's never played
Yeah. Through an amp that I don't normally play.
through an amp that he doesn't
with
normally use.
absolutely no effects.
I like it.
Let's see.
He'll put the sound here in a minute.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's working on it, and we're still on. So
Good.
I mean, so everybody's watching us act.
That's all right.
And everybody's watching us watch Mike, I
No,
guess.
I got
Oh,
it.
we got him now.
I was letting him do his thing off.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of Wire and Wood.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, happy New Year, happy everything. Be safe, be with your family, be with peace, and be with God. And if you guys find any trouble and in your life or whatever, just remember this is a season of peace and love and goodwill toward all men. So it's out there. So don't let the holidays get you down. If you're inclined to be down, there's plenty of joy out there. Just go find it and embrace it and celebrate it. And I want to thank everybody for so much fun. Mike Delaney Guitars, and Brian Cameron, come on over, guys. G and everybody at Dirty South making all of this possible. And Donuts, we hate you. And why?
I'm gonna have another.
Why? I want to send a special I hate you to Little Caesars for opening up a restaurant across the street from my house and providing $5 ready-to-go pepperoni pizzas. I hope you die.
Merry Christmas, Little Caesars.
Merry Christmas, Little Caesars. I hope your toga rots.
Merry
Hey, and there we
We've
have
got it all now.
That's right.
I
Merry
like-
Christmas, Happy
Happy
Hanukkah.
holidays,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas, everybody. Take care.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right.
Ta-da.
Well done.